Hello class, welcome to BBA 204 Principles of Management. Today I will be discussing chapter 12, which is about human resource management. So in this chapter we will explain the strategic role of human resource management. So basically, if we look at the strategic role of human resource management, we start understanding the importance of managing the skills of the people at the company level. So most new managers are shocked at the large amount of time, effort, and skill required to hire, recruit, place, and even retain the right people. So the right people can make an organization great. The wrong people can be quite destabilizing or even catastrophic. So in this chapter, we will try to determine the expectations and the beliefs of managers. We will try to understand their expectations for handling the people part of their management jobs. Okay? The term human resource management basically refers to the activities undertaken to attract an effective workforce, develop the workforce to its potential, and maintain the workforce over the long term. Okay? So HR management is all about finding the right employee for the company, managing talent, and maintaining an effective workforce. So here's a figure that summarizes, that sort of illustrates the different components of strategic human resource management, right? Finding the right people is one major component. Managing talent, which includes training, development, and appraisal. And then maintaining an effective workforce through wages and salaries, benefits, labor relations, and terminations. And then under human resource management, the companies are required to manage the skills of their people, and those skill set is known as human capital. Okay, strategic decisions are all related to human decisions. So more companies rely on information, creativity, knowledge, and service. So human capital basically refers to the economic value of the combined knowledge, experience, skills, and capabilities of employees. So in order to build the human capital of their companies, HR managers develop strategies for finding the best talent, enhancing their skills and knowledge with training programs, and opportunities for personal and professional development, and also providing compensation and benefits that support the sharing of knowledge and appropriately reward people for their contributions to the organization. Here is the role and value of human capital investment, starting at the level of, at the level of 1, level 2, and level 3. As you can see here, the key performance drivers are at level 3, which is all related to human capital strategy through rewards and recognition, career development programs, performance appraisal, recruitment, and so forth and so on. And also, there are federal laws that are related to HR management. Several federal laws have been passed to ensure equal employment opportunity, known as EEO. The purpose of these laws is to stop discriminatory practices that are unfair to specific groups and define enforcement agencies for these laws. Okay? So equal employment opportunity legislation attempts to balance the pay given to men and women and provide employment opportunities without regard to race, religion, national origin, sex, age, or disability. So Equal Opportunity Act, EEO, was created by the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 created the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the major agency involved with employment discrimination. So in other words, under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which eventually became Equal Employment Opportunity Act, discrimination on the basis of race, religion, sex, age, disability, or gender or sexual orientation is illegal. And then there is this notion of affirmative action, right? Affirmative action requires an employer to take positive steps to guarantee equal employment opportunities for people of selected groups who have been historically disadvantaged or who have been historically discriminated. Okay? So basically, recently sexual harassment has become a growing concern that is considered to be a clear violation of the Civil Rights Act. Okay? The Civil Rights Act of 1964 promoted the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. But there's a specific title of the Civil Rights Act, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act, right? Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act pertains to sexual harassment, okay? Failure to comply with EEO legislation can result in substantial fines and penalties for employers, okay? So what are these civil and political rights? They are a class of rights that protect individuals' freedom from infringement by governments, social organizations, and private individuals. Okay? The Civil Rights of 1964 ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. This is considered to be, the Civil Rights Act is considered to be one of the crowning legislative achievements of the civil rights movements. It was first proposed by President Johnson, and it survived the strong opposition from members of the Congress, and then was signed into law by Kennedy's successor, Lyndon Johnson. It was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson. In subsequent years, Congress expanded the act and passed additional civil rights legislation, such as the Voting Rights of 1965. As I said, one issue and one addition that was made to the act is the growing concern about sexual harassment, which is also considered to be a violation of the Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So the EEOC guidelines specify that behaviors such as unwelcome advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal and physical conduct of sexual nature becomes sexual harassment when submission to the conduct is tied to the continued employment or advancement of the individual, or when the behavior creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Here are the major federal laws related to human resource management. Please carefully review these laws, which I have already discussed and described in detail. Another issue that the HR management is dealing with is the changing nature of the careers, this changing nature of the social contract. Now employees are operating under a new social contract with the change in the work environment, right? In the old social contract, the employee contributed ability, education, loyalty, commitment in return for the company providing wages and benefits, work, advancement, and training. But now, under the new social environment, the new circumstances, sort of the changes taking place in the workplace have disrupted this old form of social contract. So the new social contract is based on the concept of employability, rather than security, job security, or lifetime employment. So we see under the new contract, there's a lot of job security issues arising due to downsizing, outsourcing, restructuring, subsidized benefits are decreasing. Again, employees are expected to be self-motivated rather than guided through training and development programs. Also, organizations have become extremely creative by putting the responsibility on the worker herself or himself with training and development opportunities. Here's a new contract and the old contract, which summarizes the changing nature of the social contract, which I just talked about. And also, there are a lot of innovations in HR management, right? So sometimes the company becomes an employer of choice, right? Organizations that are highly attractive to potential employees because of the ways in which they manage their human resources, right? Employer brand. I mean, HR management introduced this notion of employer brand, which is similar to a product brand, except that rather than promoting a specific product, its aim is to make the organization seem like a highly desirable workplace to work. Employer branding campaigns are like marketing campaigns to sell the company and attract the best job candidates and the best performers. However, many large, well-known companies are also using employer branding as companies fight for talent. Okay? A lot of companies nowadays are using both temporary and part-time employees, also known as contingent workers. And a lot of companies also are trying to promote work and life balance as a way of critically retaining their employees, right? Salaries and benefits must be competitive, and also the workplace should be customized to the needs of the individual. So we have seen these companies developing retention strategies, critical retention strategies to retain the employees, especially in the post-COVID-19 environment. Here are some of the critical retention strategies to promote work-life balance, like helping workers lead a balanced life, part-time work and telecommuting, flexible scheduling arrangements, and this is also happening in the context of the changing demographics of the workplace, right? Now the millennials, Gen Y millennials, meaning that people in their early 30s, demand more life and work balance. So, of course, HR management starts with finding the right talent, right? The first step is attracting a workplace, the first step in attracting a workforce, the first step in attracting a workforce is, of course, planning, right? Planning, predicting the need for new employees based on the types of vacancies that exist. Okay? So using the matching model, the organization and the individual attempt to match the needs, interests, and values that they offer to each other. And the second step is to communicate with the potential applicants. And the third step is to select those with the best potential that fits the job description. Finally, in the final step, the new employee is welcomed to the organization. Here is the process of attracting talent to the company using the matching model. So this is all about the figure that explains how the matching model works in real life. Okay? So in this model, the organization and the individual attempt to match the needs, interests, and the values they offer to each other. Okay? And then the second, the aspect, another important aspect of human resource planning is basically is the forecasting of human resource needs and the projected matching of individuals with the expected job vacancies. So what new technologies are emerging? What is the volume of business likely to be in the next 5 to 10 years? What is the turnover rate? What types of engineers will we need? So basically, human resource planning begins with these several questions. Okay? So before even going with step one, before even trying to find the right talent and attract the right talent to the company, the HR managers need to do human resource planning to find out how we can reach potential applicants, okay? Or what type of business environment are we required to operate in? What type of technologies are emerging? What is the volume of the business likely to be in the next 5 to 10 years? What is the turnover rate? What type of workforce do we need? How many administrative personnel? And so forth and so on. So, assessing the organizational needs starts with careful job analysis, which is the systematic process of gathering information about the responsibilities of a job description, summary of the duties of a job, and job specification, which are the characteristics required to perform the job. And here are some of the recruiting strategies, which is also known as talent acquisition. Recruiting is all about talent acquisition, which is defined as the activities or practices that define the characteristics of applicants to whom selection procedures are applied, right? There are realistic job previews, there are legal considerations, there are some innovations in recruiting companies recruiting through Twitter, LinkedIn, and other social media outlets. And also, internship is another important opportunity for companies to recruit among selected candidates. Okay? Here is a figure that summarizes the required skills for finance executives. So carefully review this figure to find out what are the type of human skills that the companies are looking for in order to hire potential finance executives in their workplace. Selecting is an important criteria. Okay, selecting is a very important criteria for hiring potential applicants. So in the selection process, employers assess applicants' characteristics in an attempt to determine the right fit between the job and the applicant characteristics. Right? So employers assess applicants for a fit by using a combination of devices, application forms, they do interviews. Please carefully review the nature of these interviews in the footnote. So we have structured interviews, biographical interviews, behavioral, situational, panel interviews. All of these interviews are specifically described in the footnotes of this slide. Please carefully review them so we don't have enough time to go over each specific interview. So make sure to study, to review the type of questions being asked during those interviews. Okay? There are also sometimes some companies uses employment tests to determine someone else's eligibility for a particular job. They use assessment tests like work sample tests, for example, Bloomberg tests for financial analysts. There's a test in finance that potential applicants need to pass in order to be considered for that particular job. Okay? Or there can be online check interviews or tests. Okay? Here's a very good summary that shows the type of questions that can be asked during an interview. What can you ask and what are you not allowed to ask? Okay, certain things are okay to ask, but some of them are also not only inappropriate, but they're also illegal to ask during the interview, right? You can ask the applicant's name, but you cannot ask. It's a violation of the Equal Employment Opportunity Act, right? It's a violation of EEO to ask the origin of the applicant's name or applicant's ethnicity or ancestry, race or color of skin, or ask if the person is married or not, or if she has some physical or mental defects. You don't ask a question about age or when the applicant graduated from high school. You don't ask a question about candidate's religious affiliation or if the person has ever been arrested or not. Okay? It is okay to ask if applicant has ever been convicted of a crime, but it is inappropriate to ask if applicant has ever been arrested. Okay? We don't ask questions about the marital status, child care arrangements, number of children or planned children, or when the applicant graduated, the hobbies, or whether or not the person has is a citizen of the United States. Those are the type of questions that are not permitted to ask or inappropriate to ask. Whereas you can ask whether the applicant has a legal right to work in the United States. You cannot ask if you're legally staying or not. But you can ask to phrase it differently by asking if the applicant has a legal right to work in the United States or not. There are some interview brain teasers, which can be asked in jobs for very technical jobs or jobs that require highly conceptual or technical human skills to perform. So basically, managing talent is also about providing training and development opportunities to the potential employees. So we have on-the-job training, right? We have social learning. On-the-job training is all about, there are opportunities, training and development opportunities provided in the workplace, right? There's social learning. Basically, social learning is all about learning informally from your colleagues, or sometimes by using the social media outlets, social media tools, including mobile technologies, social networking, wikis and blogs, virtual games, and so forth, right? Or social interaction in the workplace. There are corporate universities that provide training and education by giving certifications to potential employees, right? There is promotion from within, right? Promotion from within helps the companies retain valuable employees. Okay? And there is also mentoring and coaching within the workplace. So in the workplace, you find a mentor who will guide you through the process of promotion and who will help you or enable you succeed in your career. And then we have a number of performance appraisal strategies being used to evaluate the performance of the candidate, evaluate the performance of the worker, right? So it's all about performance appraisal, is all about observing and assessing employee performance, recording the assessment and providing feedback to the employee. So those are these three components, very important. Assessing the performance, recording the assessment, and providing feedback. 3 steps are involved, okay? So it's very important that during these performance appraisals, managers give feedback and praise concerning the acceptable elements of the employee's performance. Performance appraisal can also reward high performance with merit pay, recognition, and other rewards. Okay? Here are some of the methods and the goals of training, summarized in figure 12.10, such as online learning tools and systems, classroom tools and systems, and also authoring tools and systems. So these are these different techniques being used within the companies to train and develop the labor force within the company. As we said, I mean, performance appraisal is an extremely important component of evaluating the performance and retain the best human skills within the company. So to obtain an accurate performance rating, managers must acknowledge that jobs are multidimensional and performance can be multidimensional as well. Okay? So therefore, the system should evaluate the relevant performance. We had the performance review ranking like bars, for instance. Bars system pit employees against each other. This is also known as force ranking or force distribution. The approach basically uses the performance appraisal process to rank the employees relative to each other. and also stipulate that a certain percentage of employee must fall in each rating category. There is also 360-degree feedback. 360-degree feedback is a process through which feedback from an employee's subordinates, colleagues, and supervisors, as well as a self-evaluation by the employee themselves, is gathered. This is like a 360-degree feedback is a very collective performance appraisal where different stakeholders in the company is involved to evaluate the candidate or the potential employee. So it's not only your manager who evaluates you, but it's also the employees, co-workers, subordinates, colleagues, supervisors, plus the worker, him or herself. A self-evaluation by the employee is also crucial here. Like 300-degree feedback, I mean, it's a very important, very interesting method, with the pros and the cons. I mean, of course, it provides feedback to employees from a variety of sources and perspectives, right? Reveals specific career development areas. But on the other hand, sometimes focuses on employees' weakness and shortcomings, right? Instead of the strengths. And the key problem here is that since we're receiving, in the case of 360-degree feedback, we're receiving too many feedback from different stakeholders in the company, we might be wasting time during the evaluation process. Okay, it might be a little bit subjective, so different people might put in different feedback throughout the process, and then we might be losing some valuable time in the process. Okay. Here are some performance evaluation errors. I mean, one major evaluation error is the stereotyping, right? Placing an employee into a class or category based on a few characteristics. It's a sort of profiling, okay? So there is another issue with the behavioral anchored rating scale, the rating scale that I talked in the previous slide. This is also known as bars. So in the bar system, scales are used to rate the performance. Okay? Sometimes these bars are normally presented vertically or horizontally with a scale ranging from 5 to 9. Okay? So in other words, this bar pertains to job performance, and it's designed to help raters avoid performance evaluation errors. So in this case, each job performance scale is anchored with specific behavioral statements that describe varying degrees of performance. Okay? For instance, this is a very typical bars example, right? So they are trying to match verbal statements with the rating. So they created these verbal statements that describe the candidate's performance. As in the scale 1, the employee has no plan or schedule of work and no concept of realistic due dates. That is the worst performance. But the best performance is scale 5. To develop a comprehensive schedule, observe target dates, update the status of operations relative to plans, making schedule modifications as quickly as necessary. Okay? So these are the different scales, but the best performance is the 5, and the worst performance is 1. And the performance is getting better and better with each scale. So another important aspect in HR management is the issue of compensation. Developing an effective compensation system is an important part of human resource management because it helps attract and retain talented workers. So all monetary payments and all goods or commodities used to reward employees. So we have the wage and salary systems, which is the job-based pay, skills-based pay, and competency-based pay. Okay? In the case of the job-based pay, so this is all about how the salaries are determined, right? How the pay structure is determined. In the case of job-based pay, the salary for a job is determined by its responsibilities and sometimes its work conditions. Most companies' pay structures are job-based pay structures like customer service jobs, banking and finance. Well, in the case of skill-based pay, it's a compensation system that rewards employees with additional pay, in exchange for formal certification of the employee's mastery of skills, knowledge, and or other competencies. So this is a scale higher than the job base. It's not only about fulfilling your responsibilities as in job-based pay, but this is all about rewarding for additional skills that you can provide for the company. Okay? Which can be in the form of additional education, it can be in the form of formal certification of the mastery of skills. So skill in this case is required and observable expertise in performing the task. So knowledge is required information used in performing those tasks. Like, for instance, having a CPA. To be a well-rounded, knowledgeable, best accountant, good accountant, you need to have CPA. So people, in other words, are paid according to capabilities and not the job assignment. Okay? Whereas in the case of competency-based pay is a pay structure that compensates employees on their skill set, their knowledge, and their experience. It's a pay structure that compensates employees on their skill set, their knowledge, and their experience. Okay? So in other words, competency-based pay is meant to encourage employees to contribute to the company by improving upon their skills. So it's very motivating. Job evaluation is so job evaluation is the process of determining the worth of jobs within the organization through an examination of the job content. Okay? So compensation also requires that the person should be compensated for the skills, for the job that it is providing, and that compensation should be fair and equitable. Okay? And pay for performance, also called incentive pay. It's called incentive pay. Ties at least part of the compensation to employee effort and performance through merit-based pay, bonuses, team incentives, gain sharing, or profit sharing plans. With pay for performance, for instance, incentives are aligned with the behaviors needed to help the organization achieve its strategic goals and objectives. Okay? However, recent years have shown the potential dangers of misdirected or abused pay for performance plans. Pay for performance, basically, it's about you have a good performance and then you get more pay, right? Your payment is based on your performance. It's merit-based. Bonuses should be merit-based. Only if you deserve the bonus, you get it. But if you don't deserve it, if you're not contributing to the performance, to the better performance of the company, those pays should not be happening. Therefore, in recent years, we've seen that this pay for performance has been taken advantage of. And there have been quite a high number of misdirected and abused pay for performance plans. Again, organizations are required by law to provide some benefits, such as social security, unemployment compensation, workers' compensation are required by law. Okay? Unfortunately, due to the recent recession and the COVID-19 that we are going through, benefits have been cut. Other types of benefits such as health insurance, vacations, or educational reimbursements are not required by law. Health insurance, vacations, or educational reimbursements are not required by law, but are provided by organizations to maintain and retain an effective workforce. The term right-sizing the organization is also known as downsizing, which refers to intentionally reducing the company's workforce to the point where the number of employees is deemed to be the right for the company's current situation. It's called not the downsizing, but the right sizing. So this is done to find the right fit between the company and the number of employees working for the company. So the goal here is to make the company stronger and competitive by aligning the size of the workforce with the company's current needs. Of course, HR must effectively and humanely manage this process. Termination. Okay. Termination sometimes is considered to be valuable in maintaining an effective workforce. Because why? There are two reasons of why terminations can be valuable. Because employees who are poor performance can be dismissed. Productive employees often resent disruptive, low-performing employees who are allowed to stay with the company and receive pay comparable to their pay. Sometimes we do use, when terminating those low-performing employees, we can use exit interviews, which is an inexpensive way to learn about the reasons of dissatisfaction within the organization. And of course, we can use that information to reduce future turnover. Okay? Exactly. In this chapter, we talk about the changing workplace, the change of the term from downsizing to right-sizing reflects the changing needs of the workplace. Demographic changes have transformed society, and good organizations are further taking steps to attract and maintain workers. Diversity is no longer just the right thing to do, right? The most important thing is to attract the most diverse and also the best talent to the company. Also, HR practices are changing due to globalization. So in order to retain the workforce at the global level, organizations must compete on a global basis. Ultimately, the success will be determined by the global HR strategies. which falls under the topic of international human resource management, right? We haven't talked about how to manage the international labor force, right? Which adds more complexity to the problem of managing diverse people globally. So hopefully, in our future classes, you will be introduced to some of the important aspects of international human resource management. Thanks again for listening to my lecture, and have a good day. Bye-bye.